Não vai, não. Madam, where's the chair? Where's the chair? Do you have the chair? Program here. I'm programming. Do you have the chair? Sorry, who's the chair for this session? Is this chair? Okay, so you have the chair already. That's all. Get out. Come here. If you have I mean, or if you have a flash drive or something.
No, I'll forward it.
No. Yeah, he's copying it. So we'll give it to you.
Have you been able to locate the?
That's what is good.
What do you know?
Define it.
The file name is Ebola Laje.
Ah, okay. No. You.
I want to be sure it's responding before we.
Yeah. Open the file. Boss. Yeah, so this is it. Are you good?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's good. We'll check the camera. Every camera, however, since we have good. Yeah, wait. Something.
Excuse me, you are doctor.
No. I just.
She's the chair.
Oh,
She's the chair. She's the chair.
Okay, how about your friend? Like,
No, she's the chair. She's the chair.
okay.
Okay, you are also presenting.
Yes, I'm presenting.
Okay.
I came in during the third section to collect your mail.
You don't want to
Okay. Okay. So, are you good? You prefer the plastic chair to this one?
No, so I thought everybody here was.
No. Only
Excuse me, what's your name?
Kalejayi, Abiola Kalejayi,
Chatiri.
and she.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually,
It doesn't contain any fat.
Yeah, there's no attachment. That's the point. You didn't attach the part.
I forwarded it from when I sent to you. So let me just.
Yes. Okay, the check. This person. You can see also. Yes, just me there. Oh, without specific, no, just so it's good to get okay.
20 minutes.
Some people can only send it. You are going to check. Are you sure?
She is the chair, yeah.
So I think you can get.
You should say it now, sir. Have you?
Well, so we can just begin.
Okay, can we start now? Are you good to go?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Kalejari from Olabisi University. We started this presentation, and the theme is the title, Literature and Representation, Writers and the Academic Interpretations, Part 2. The first presenter I have here is Kalista Agoha.
Online. Online.
It's online. So Kalista, are you here? Hello? We'll be waiting to hear.
I think she's having connection.
Okay, should we wait for a while or we should proceed?
Let's just, she will join us along the invitation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, while waiting for Kalista, the second presenter here will be presenting on the topic Unveiling the Mask, a post-colonial reading of Chinua Achebe, the man of the people. And the presenter is Sunday Akinkoye from University of Lagos. If Sunday is here, we can have the presentation. We have 12 minutes for each presenter, after which we can write down our questions. After the entire presentations, we'll ask the presenters the various questions. So Sunday, your time starts now, 12 minutes. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sunday Akinkoye, and I'll be presenting my research on the topic that says Unveiling the Mask. Unveiling the Mask of post-colonial reading of Chinua Achebe's The Man of the People. Unveiling the Mask of post-colonial reading of Chinua Achebe's The Man of the People. So, I would like to first explain the rationale behind my topic before I move forward. Starting from the topic of unveiling the mask. The idea of mask is something that connotes a kind of an identity cover, something that covers the identity of a person. Okay, so in the context of my research, the mask is an emblem that hides the true identity of a person. Okay, so to unveil the mask means to take away the blockage and reveal the ideal identity of the bearer. So unveiling the mask of post-colonial reading of Chinua Achebe's Man of the People. The next slide is a brief biography of the author. Chinua Achebe is a prolific writer who is regarded as a strong pillar in post-colonial African writings. There are so many post-colonial African writers, Wole Soyinka, the late legend Ngo Adiongo and others. They've been able to establish their critical, epistemology in the discourse of post-colonialism. But I'm interested in Achebe because I noticed that Achebe uses literature to portray the African society in the realistic way. Okay, Achebe is not an idealist. I regard him as a realist. He's depicting the African society in the ideal way it is. So that's why I'm interested in Achebe. And if you read most of his novels, we can see that Achebe is a master painter who paints the African society in the way it is with respect to the political dysfunctionality and so many social unrest. So the point is that Achebe remains a realist writer, and that's why I've taken too much delight in using him. So the next slide is a brief introduction, which will pave way to my analysis. Over the years, as a result of the long inherited colonial legacy imposed by civilized Europe and Imperial West, the continent, that's my focus. You can see that it's on the line. The continent of Africa till now has been experiencing series of incessant tragedies, manifesting as socio-political chaos and disguised dictatorship in the corridor of power. This is where I'm starting my analysis. The African society has been experiencing a series of incessant tragedies, and these tragedies manifest as socio-political chaos and disguised dictatorship. Now, dictatorship in the post-colonial context has been disguised. Okay, in the post-colonial context, we have African rulers, African leaders who claim to be the precursors of democracy, who claim to be a protagonist of democracy, but they've polished democracy. They've been able to upturn democracy to suit their own self-interest. So the point is that they are presenting democracy from the surface, but from a critical context, these rulers are dictators in disguise. And this thing is relatable to the text. If you read the primary text, Chinua Achebe's The Man of the People, we are introduced to the central character, Chief Nanga. Okay, Chief Nanga is a politician who claims to be a nationalist, but claims to, to believe in the tenets of democracy. Well, if you ask me, do these leaders really understand the tenet of democracy? They don't. Chief Nanga is a characteristic emblem of exploitation. This is the man who exploits the African resources and the people. Okay, so the point I'm trying to establish here is in the second paragraph. That's the point. In the second paragraph, I said that it is observed that the political tragedy of self-rule has a gross disparaging repercussion on African history. So I'm trying to write about African history from the post-colonial context. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, African history is broad. We have the pre-colonial, we have colonial and post-colonial. So my focus is on the post-colonial. And one thing that signifies the post-colonial is the advent of self-rule. We've gone above the colonial period. We are now in the post-colonial, such that we have self-rule being established. So Achebe is disappointed in the self-rule of African leadership. So I'm trying to analyze the text from the post-colonial context in relation to the intended message of the author. So my analysis thematizes political tragedy of self-rule in relation to the post-colonial milieu of African history. Please, the next slide. Aha, this explains my my analysis better. You can see my focus is on African history. I want to write about the African history, but I have a focus, post-colonial Africa. That is what I want to talk about. So what exactly am I talking about in post-colonial Africa? I'm trying to examine the thematic concern of political tragedy of self-rule. Notably, this study is addressing the tragedy of political power in the post-colonial context of African democracy. Now, there was something that I tried to establish in my analysis. Self-rule is a phenomenon that comes with so many promises. When self-rule comes into place, the idea is that the self-rule will bring towards economic prosperity, political freedom. Of course, we have our own power. The destiny of the state is in our hands. Okay? We are the architects of our own destiny. That's the expectation. But in reality, okay, I said actually based in reality all the time. In reality, self-rule has failed Africa in the post-colonial context. Okay, because after the attainment of independence, after the attainment of self-rule, what we have is the opposite of all the promises. So that is what I'm trying to talk about. So the next slide, which is the aim of the next slide, please, which is the aim of the study. The next slide, thank you. The aim of the study. So what is my aim? What am I trying to achieve in my post-colonial analysis? Now, this writing is aimed at carrying out a post-colonial analysis of Chinua Achebe, the man of the people. And by applying the post-colonial lens, the text, okay, by applying the post-colonial lens to the text, the writing aims to examine how the fictional narrative reveals, you can see it is bolded, that is my focus. So my aim is to examine how the fictional narrative, that is text, how the text reveals the significant consequences of the significant consequences and the socio-political tragedy of self-rule in post-colonial Africa. Let me take it again. The aim of the study is to examine how the text, how the fictional narrative reveals the significant consequences and socio-political tragedy of self-rule in post-colonial Africa. See, it is very difficult to subtract politics from literature. Politics and literature are interwoven such that there is no way we want to talk about the functionalities, social unrest and disappointment of African leadership without talking about the political structure. So the point is that findings show, okay, please, next slide should be my findings. Thank you very much. Findings in my research show that 3 factors have contributed to the misrule and intellectual deficit of post-colonial Africa. I have 3 factors, my findings. So we've been talking about the failure of self-rule in Africa as portrayed in Achebe's Man of the People, how Nanga and other political figures, how they failed the people, okay, through exploitation and other, unrealistic promises. So 3 factors I have highlighted. The first one is the disguised tyranny, I beg your pardon, the disguised tyranny of colonial legacy. That's the first one. The disguised tyranny of colonial legacy. Now, this is one challenge. This is one problem of African leadership. Okay, I'm trying to fine-tune my analysis in relation to the intended message of Achebe. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, intended message. What is Achebe trying to say? Okay, Achebe is a man who writes with so many unsaid, so many silences. So I try to prick into the silences and I try to make some critical assumptions, okay, in relation to his intended meaning. Now, the disguised tyranny of colonial legacy is one problem that I've discovered, which is a challenge to Africa's improvements and progress. What do I mean by disguised tyranny? Okay, colonial legacy. One of the symbols. Let me borrow the word symbol. One of the symbols or one of the signposts of colonial legacy in the context of my analysis is democracy. In the context of my analysis, when I say colonial legacy, I mean democracy. Democracy is one colonial legacy that we received. Democracy has been on for years, but in the context of analysis, it was when the colonial masters came that they introduced democracy. I mean, in the official setting of voting, or as we have it in the modern sense. That's what I'm trying to say here. So we've received this colonial legacy of democracy, which has been a catalyst through which we have emerged leaders. Okay, but the point is that these leaders or rulers get to power, and instead of being a Democrat, they turn themselves to disguise tyranny. They are in power, they want to continue enjoying power, they don't want to leave power, and they disguise tyranny. They disguise it, they disguise the narrative. So that is one problem that is affecting post-colonial Africa, which is implied in the text. The second factor that my research is posing is the social unrest and civil chaos accompanying the elitist propaganda. This is another issue that is affecting post-colonial Africa in the Nigerian context. Elitist propaganda. Those who claim to be educated, they are part of the problems. The elites are part of the issue because so many propagandas and we do not know the one to follow. If you read the text properly, through the portrayal of Chief Nanga, we'll see that this man is actually educated. He's somebody who has, experienced the Western education, is quite educated, but his propaganda, does it fit into the African context? No. So what happened is that these leaders go back to wear the same shoes of their former colonizers. So it's revolving. It's like a cyclic movement. Okay. The last one, my time is up. Hey, okay, can I just conclude within 1 2 minutes? Okay. Thank you very much. In conclusion, please conclusion. In conclusion, yeah, thank you very much. In conclusion, through the post-colonial analysis of Achebe's masterpiece, the writing therefore unveils the facade. Yes, it unveils the facade, the premedicated nationalism and disguised mask of tyranny worn by African elite and rulers who employ the instrument of political power to perpetrate injustice, violence, and brutality, resulting to extorting and exploiting the vulnerable masses. So the point is that through the post-colonial reading or post-colonial analysis of the text, I intend to establish the fact that post-colonialism shouldn't be a theoretical instrument that we always use to counter colonialism all the time. Let's be self-reflective. Colonialism has come and it has gone. We have our self-rule, we have our destinies in our hands. The truth remains that, according to Achebe, the truth remains that our leaders who claim to be our Messiah turn out to be our tormentors. And that is what I try to stamp. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you. Our resource is online now. It's ready. Is it ready? The first presenter, I don't know if she's relevant, if she's ready. Carissa, go back. If the presenter is not ready, your third presenter is Douglas Nyagolua. Is Carissa ready?
She's not online.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Douglas. So Douglas, for 11, they have 12 minutes for your presentation. The time starts now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon,
What is the title?
It's from fatalism to resistance. Fatalism from African culture, from fatalism to resistance in Elodie Yeboah's Lelam Lukare.
You sent it to my email.
Yes, the PowerPoint, I did. You said you received it a while ago. Yes. Doctors.
Oh, you resent it.
Yes, I
I'm
did.
not coming.
Can I proceed?
I'll-
It's nonsense, but maybe people might follow. And it's not a very detailed thing, it's something that should just guide you to do that. Good afternoon, sirs. Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Dorcas. This is Dorcas Yanulu Akshola. And then the title of my presentation this afternoon is African Culture from Fatalism to Resistance in Elodiebua's Lelando Karen. You see that the text is written in French because that's my own field, but for the sake of the presentation, that's to be presented. This is the English audience. So of course, it's set in the fictional Ivorian community. So since it's also located in West Africa, we can definitely relate as Nigeria, as Nigerians too. So the Greek philosopher Heraclitus has this very popular saying that says that change is the constant, is the only constant thing. Now, if we say that from fatalism to resistance, what is the previous state of the African culture? What is fatalism? Fatalism is a situation, a state whereby one resigns to the course of events. When you just resign to what will be. This is how the institution is. This is what we meant, and this is how to continue. Not trying to question the status quo, not trying to see if there's something that can be done better. So this is, in this case now, fatalism to resistance, we're talking about the discontinuities of African culture. How has it been evolving? So the aim of this paper is to study the evolution. Please, you can give us the next slide. The evolution of African culture. It is to see, and particularly on the issue of gender. So this text talks about 3 adolescent girls, Karen and Jamila, in Koboko. That's a village in Koboko, in Côte d'Ivoire. They were going to primary school, but it was through their principal Zemen that tried to encourage their parents or persuade them. And then it's against their will, because everybody in the village is opposed to, why will a girl child be enrolled in school? It's like it's something that is very useless and unheard of. Of course, as the practice is, they did not allow, Miriam was not, Jamila now first, was not afforded the opportunity to continue because his father, her father had to give her out in marriage, early marriage, to his friend, his very rich friend. So the things that are very pertinent in this paper is forced marriage, not just early marriage, forced marriage, and of course early marriage, and then the lack of education for the girl children, lack of healthcare, the complicitness of the mothers or the women, because the mothers seem to be quite helpless too. That's still talking about, let's go to the next slide, sir, about fatalism. So they believe that everything, the whole event of life is predetermined. This is the African society, and this is the way that they have to keep going. They feel it is inevitable. So the silence, the institution of silence that is being imbibed in the girl child right from childhood is just there. It's like a chain. It's like a prison. They just feel that it is it's something that they cannot break through. So the girl children are raised to accept the silence, and then while Jamila could not proceed, Karen still had the opportunity, because it was her father was dead. The uncle still allowed, it was permissive though, but she had the strong will, she was able to continue education. Please, can we go to intersection? The next slide, sir. Okay, roles of mother. I've explained that about how the mothers as well, although they are victims, but they do not They are also, sorry, role of mothers first. Sir, the previous one. Yeah, I mentioned that briefly because of time. That they are also perpetuating that cycle. They cannot break it. So covertly or overtly, they are also accomplice in this case. Next slide, sir. So talking about theory that was used to, the lens that was used to examine this, we have intersectionality, of course, coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. It's from feminism. We see that when we talk about intersectionality, it means that there are a lot of factors that have come together to affect one particular person or a particular class of people. So these girl children, their own case, they are raised in the rural area. You know, the disadvantages there, education, because they go to another town to learn. Then the gender as well, they are girl children. The race, they are Black. The class, lower class, of course, because they are found in that rural environment. And then another factor is the age, they are young. So that is the case. That's where the intersection of their powerlessness, that's where it comes from. So when we say that the school is failing them, there's a particular teacher, the French teacher, that also took advantage of these girls in the school, sexually abused them. The religion, it's Islamic community. So Islam as well was one of the tools that was used to oppress those girls or everybody in the town now. That okay, you have to marry early, and then you should. There is a polygamy. They could be married off, like being the fifth wife at the age of 12, 13, and all that. Healthcare now, at a point, the third girl, because another one came in when Jamila was forced out of school and then was given up to marriage. She experienced complications, you know, as a young girl. Yes, during childbirth. So there is this is called VVF. You know, healthcare now, how would we say that healthcare failed them? Ideally, the hospitals would report these issues. It should be told to reported to the police station or a higher authority that will take it up and say, no, this is child abuse and all that. So all of these factors, all of those institutions have failed. This next slide, sir. So we're not seeing how has culture evolved, since that is our aim. The preservation of culture, while we have those that are supposed to be the gatekeepers of patriarchy, regardless of how badly it is affecting the society, particularly their own children, you see, they are holding on to this. It is now evolving now, thanks to Karen. Please, the next slide, sir. Karen particularly was the only girl that was able to triumph. She was able to finish her education. Of course, after surmounting many of those obstacles, she eventually got scholarship to further her education. Then she became a minister, the Minister of Health. She came back to the village and then tried to reach out to other underprivileged girls and mothers. It was a very emotional time for her when she saw her old friend, Miriam, who was forced to marry, and then she already had about 6 or 7 children, looking haggard, and then conditioned to that poverty. That cycle of poverty continued. So Karen now is now a symbol of what? A symbol of resistance. She's the one that is showing us that even though the progress is slow, there is evolution. Some are really scaling through. They are redefining womanhood. They are redefining the African identity for the women or for the female gender. Next, please. So Elodie Yeboah now, a very young lady, she was born in 1998. She's trying to, and that's like it's like an auto-fiction. So the first person narration was used. She used this text to mirror, to map the story of the African story, the reality of Africa, and it's inspiring us. It's Next slide, sir. Is calling on everybody to do something for the girl child, wherever we find ourselves. Not only the girl child now, although this is what the paper is addressing, but whatever will allow the progression of the African culture, because man was not made for culture. Culture was rather made for man. That's what Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie said. There's a progression that man was made to, man can change culture, should make culture evolve. It should suit man, not that we men, human beings, should be bending to obey culture. So finally, last one, sir. Finally, we see that even though there's been a lot of resignation to faith, spiritualism, there is also the evolution, there is the progression, there is hope. And then we must also, all of us must amplify that voice of change, just like Karen has done, because she went back to her hometown to do that, to make sure that what she has surmounted, she can drag many others out. She started enlightening them in the village that this is not about telling your girls to rebel. It's not rebellion, it is progress, it is change. So the feminism that we practice in Africa, it's not that of, it's not a very radical one. It's rather one that is supposed to change us, not to copy another culture, but rather to suit our own society. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. I don't know if Kalista is right now. The first person who's supposed to present first for this session. It's still online.
You can just.
It's online.
It's online.
Okay, Kalista, hello. If you can hear us, I want you to comment your presentation. You have 12 minutes for the presentation.